Hello there and welcome to another year of Spartan Sports Report and the start of the 2016 football year for San Jose State. Justin Allegri and Kevin Richardson with you here from practice. We'll preview the year upcoming for San Jose State, talk some offseason storylines, offense, defense, and also get week one of two looks at the Mountain West Conference this year. We'll start now, Kevin, though, with what was for San Jose State the first bowl appearance for Coach Carragher and a bowl victory for him. Coach Carragher now coming into his fourth season and really seems to have this program kind of moving in the direction that he wanted it to.
Well, yeah, I think that appearance in the bowl gave you the springboard into this 2016 season. You think about the way we ended things up here at then Spartan Stadium, now Sefcu Stadium, home of the Spartans. But, we kind of said when we went off the air, well, there's this remote chance that the Spartans are going to a bowl. 2 years earlier, 6-6, we were almost certain we were going to a bowl and did not. And things worked out with the APR score, made our trip down to Orlando and got a nice win against Georgia State. That, I think, did well for recruiting, brought you into spring ball with a lot of energy, and then Coach Uribe and his guys got it done in the summertime. I think if you talk to any of these Spartan players, they said they had a great summer. Everybody got out of here, did what they needed to do to get ready for this 2016 season, and it really sets you up to really take that next step in the Ron Carragher era.
Well, I just think, too, having a bowl game for this team, the benefit of those bowl practices, and everybody kind of talks about that, but really it is a big difference for players like a Kenny Potter who wants to get a little more experience in the offense, but just those extra weeks of practice really helps.
Well, yeah, I think that makes total sense. Again, more time on the practice field you're going to be a better team. The other part is, I think mentally you start thinking like a winner. You're wearing your bowl game swag. You're on ESPN. You go home for the break and your friends are saying, hey, I saw you guys playing, on TV, and that's all good stuff. That really gives you that little extra you need in the off season to really say, okay, look, let's carry ourselves like we belong at the top of the Mountain West Conference.
The other part of the off season, Greg Robinson departs as the defensive coordinator for San Jose State. Ron English comes in for the Spartans, and from what I've been told by players, they just love his attitude, they love his energy, and I think he's a good fit for this team.
I agree. Coach Robinson, a great guy. Of course, Bakersfield guy, I always reference that. They're always good guys and loads of experience. The only thing, if I were to ever be critical of Coach Robinson, we talked about that on the air a little bit last year, is coming with that NFL background, really vanilla in terms of what you do on defense. In all fairness to Coach Robinson, too, a lot of young guys last year, so not capable of a lot of different schemes. But again, you make this transition this year. You've got a guy that really has made his living at the college game, a head coach formerly, and I think that's the one missing component to really kind of kick you up to, can you get 7, 8, 9 wins out of the Spartan team?
Well, the other component, too, that we've seen for a few years now is the run defense for the Spartans. It has been a storyline, unfortunate storyline that it has been. But Barry Sachs, and I think that's kind of an undervalued position now for the Spartans. He comes from New Mexico. New Mexico was the 5th best run defense in the conference last year, which doesn't sound like much. But if the Spartans were the fifth best run defense last year in the conference, we're talking about 2, maybe 3 more wins.
Exactly. And, last year, Spartans were number 1 in the nation for much of the year in pass defense and ended up the year number 2. And we didn't spend a lot of time talking about it because the reality was no one needed to throw the ball against the Spartan defense. They could run the ball. So that should be something that is a positive for the defense. The other thing that I always look at when you're looking at the progression of a team is, what's the turnover ratio? What does that look like for you? Spartans, I believe, were -5 last year. Year before, they were -12. Of course, that was a 3-9 season, and then -5 the year before at 6-6. So if you can get a defense that's creating turnovers, you've got a quarterback that learned how to control himself in terms of, do I make a play or do I just kill it and get on to the next play, or do I throw an interception? You had a guy that really matured last year under center in Kenny Potter. So I look for that turnover ratio to turn positive. You turn that positive, and boy, you will have more wins than losses. That's what it's about.
All right, we'll take our first break here from practice on Spartan Sports Report. When we return, Amy Lanski, our reporter, will join us to preview the Mountain Division in the Mountain West Conference. That's to come when we return.
We started with the class-leading RX. We gave it paddle shifters to help you command the road. A sport mode to help you control the road. and a sport-tuned suspension to help you connect with the road. The Lexus RX F-Sport. This is the RX Elevated. See your Northern California Lexus dealer.
Playing high school and college basketball taught me the value of teamwork while learning leadership and problem-solving skills. Sports are an excellent way for kids to prepare for the real world, as well as the importance of staying physically fit. I use these skills every day in my job as an officer with the San Jose Police Department. Being a police officer allows me to use what I have learned while serving my community.
View job opportunities and apply at sjpdu.com. That's sjpdyu.com.
Welcome back on Spartan Sports Report. We now bring in the third member of our broadcast team, Amy Lanski, who will preview the Mountain West Conference Mountain Division.
Each Mountain West team has a lot of expectations coming into the season. However, this week, we're going to focus on previewing the Mountain Division of the conference. To start play in the Mountain Division, the Spartans travel to Albuquerque to face New Mexico. This will be the first time the Spartans compete in Albuquerque since their 2006 New Mexico Bowl victory against the Lobos, then led by current San Diego State head coach Rocky Long. New Mexico always poses a threat to the San Jose State defense running the triple option. But the Lobos are one of the most experienced teams in the Mountain West, and something they're going to be focusing on this season is their strong defense. This is because they have so many players returning.
Expectations. You know, we were able to get to a bowl game last year. We ended up 4-1 in the Mountain Division. Beat Boise, beat Utah State, beat Air Force, beat Wyoming. Our only loss was to Colorado State by a touchdown. I think there's expectations. And that can either be the best thing that happened to us, or it could be the worst thing. Probably have 14 or 15 players that have started a game. We had a lot of young guys that played several years ago that are still here. We do have some experience, we do have some depth. For the first time, we have a chance to be a good Mountain West Conference defense. I think it all starts with that for us now at this phase of the program.
The next opponent San Jose is facing from the Mountain Division is another away game against Boise State. The Broncos, who are always predicted to be a strong team in the Mountain West, have the reigning Freshman Player of the Year in quarterback Brett Rippon. One challenge for the Broncos is going to be the loss of their 4 starting D linemen. But Coach Harsin isn't focused on the losses as much as he is the leadership and depth of the program.
There'll be some young faces that play, but I really feel like those guys, even in spring ball, did a very good job. They understand the challenge. They know what they're faced with. Depth is an issue, but as far as the players we have back, like them. We lost a few guys on that team that had been there for a while. All of a sudden, where's that leadership going to come from? And I've been really pleasantly surprised. Not surprised, but I've been happy with the progress we've made, all right, in those areas of leadership where guys have stepped up and they've helped lead this team the right way.
For their last Mountain Division game, the Spartans are hosting Air Force. The Falcons finished just short in the Mountain West Championship game last year. The Air Force has a main focus this season of filling their 7 holes in the front.
We'll need good play everywhere. You know, I think the other part that kind of goes unnoticed just because it's not a skill position is our offensive line. We had 3 of our 5 that graduated, and in addition to our tight end and starting slot back Garrett Brown. So we got some holes that we gotta replace. I do think we have some capable guys. It's just a matter we got to get them to move forward and develop in a hurry. We have some areas there in our front 7 where we really got to get rolling forward. And hopefully guys have made good gains here over the last few months. Physically, and we'll do a good job when we get cranked up there in August.
Overall, San Jose State is playing the top 2 teams in the Mountain Division this season. Fortunately enough, they have their only bye in the middle of those 2 contests. For Spartan Sports Report, I'm Amy Lanski. Back to you.
We'll take a quick break here on Spartan Sports Report. When we return, we'll talk offense for San Jose State here from practice. Plenty more to come when we return.
Honoring all-around excellence in men's and women's collegiate competition. Every division, every sport, the Learfield Directors Cup. The prestigious award continues its reign as the crowning achievement in college athletics. To follow your favorite team, like us on Facebook, find us online and on Twitter. The Learfield Directors Cup.
It's Nissan's Bottom Line Summer Event. Take on the unexpected with a car that could stop for you. Get to Nissan for big model year-end offers on our award-winning lineup. Hurry, these offers end soon. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on 13 models, or save up to $3,250 on the 2016 Altima. Get to Nissan, proud partner of the San Jose State Spartans.
Welcome back on Spartan Sports Report here from practice. We'll now talk offense for San Jose State. And Kevin, when you talk offense, it's kind of nice to have a starting quarterback returning. The first time in a little while here, for us at least, since David Fales, we'll have a starting quarterback returning, and that's Kenny Potter. And what we saw from Kenny last year, the beginning of the season, they were kind of platooning between him and Joe Gray and really didn't get much of a rhythm going. But once he was in there, we saw him mature greatly.
Boy, we did. Kenny shared time, as you said, and got a little nicked up at Oregon State and Corvallis, and then got healthy. They made Kenny the guy, almost 2,000 yards passing. The stat that I like when you look at a quarterback, how many passes, what percentage of your passes are you completing? 67% for him, 15 touchdown throws, only 7 interceptions. I thought he really came of age as a Mountain West quarterback last year. Really learned when to extend a play and when to hang on to the ball, and more importantly, get out of bounds, right? You don't want your quarterback playing like he's got an extra body, and Kenny's a tough guy that likes to make plays, but if it's a difference between 1 yard and you're in the middle of the field and it's really not going to matter, you need to get out of bounds, stay on your feet. And I thought he did a great job of learning how to do that.
Well, the biggest loss undoubtedly was Tyler Irvin, and it leaves that void at the running back position. Coach Carragher stated at media days it's going to be that platoon style of position. It looks to me, just by judging on what we've seen here in practice, that Deontay Cooper, who is a great story in himself, a seventh-year player out of UW. It looks like he's probably the leading candidate at this time, but Cooper has been great in practice. And then you have that combination of Zamora Ziegler behind him and a couple of others, but it looks like Cooper's the guy at this point.
Well, yeah, and I think you're going to have to have the running back position be carried by a committee, right? You don't replace Tyler Irvin with one guy, 3.5 miles of total offense, some crazy number like that, 6,000 plus yards. But that was a guy, when you needed something, you got the ball in his hands, whether you just checked it down to him out on the edge, line him up at receiver, put him at tailback, do whatever you need to do. So you're going to have to run a lot of guys through there. The real advantage you have is you've got 4 of your 5 offensive linemen back, right? Between Taylor, Coloni, Gonzalez, Valechko, and Sarver. So 4 of those 5 were starters last year. They've got an offensive line coach that could probably put on a helmet and play right now and only need a helmet in Coach Stenovich. But, I was thinking about him driving up, that guy's not an up-and-comer as a coach. He's already come up. He knows what he's doing. That offensive line did great things last year. They will do spectacular things this year.
Yeah, 86 career starts between those 4 returners is pretty darn good, if you ask me.
Yeah, and again, if you talk to an old-school football guy and you listen to Coach Carragher talk and the things that you want to do to win football games, you got to run the ball between the tackles, and that starts with a big, strong offensive line.
And it seems like the running backs that the Spartans do have that they will play platooning are different styles of running back. There's not just the heavy down type of guy. There's not the third down guy. Everybody has a specific role that I think Coach Borges could use to his advantage.
Well, exactly. And then you also think about, if you're a D lineman, your eyes aren't in the backfield, but if you're a defensive back or a linebacker and, you've got a guy that's a slashing runner and then he gets replaced with a guy that'll light you up and put his pads right into you, that causes you a lot of trouble on defense because it changes your timing in terms of, where's my strike point, where am I trying to go to get the ball, and that's a huge advantage. And, of course, we haven't touched on the tight end position here. You've got that 1-2 punch with Billy Freeman, who's just a freak in a good way, in an affectionate way. He's a broadcaster's dream, right? He hurdles a defender once a year, and that gives us something to get really excited about, right? And then Josh Oliver, true freshman last year, kind of a poor man's Billy Joe Dupree, and I'm going 80s on you, right? But the old Cowboys tight end, big, tall, rangy guy, made a nice catch in the bowl game down in Orlando, made that overnight flight home much nicer, right? But those 2 guys at tight end, you can get them both on the field, both of them block well, both of them catch well, and that's a real plus.
And that's the thing that Billy emphasized with his offseason kind of focus was that he wanted to be a better blocking tight end, which is kind of scary when you think how good he was already, and he says he's improved on that.
Yeah, and just an athletic guy, right? High school quarterback. I'm sure he played high school basketball. Guy could play anything he wants to play. Remember, he had that pitch pass down at UNLV a while back, right?
A bullet.
Yeah, I mean, he'd probably kick off and hold on kicks. He'd do whatever you need to do, and he would be great at it. So a great athlete, get the ball in his hands, a lot of good things are going to happen.
Let's talk about some of the guys that Kenny Potter will be throwing to. The depth at the wide receiver position. Tyler Winston not an option this year for San Jose State. Lost Hansel Wilson from last year. Tim Crawley returns. I thought we saw a lot of good things progressing throughout the season from Justin Holmes, who was more of just a third down type of receiver, but we'll see more of him this year. But those two come back, and you add Rashid Johnson in here, who was a transfer from USC, and now this wide receiving core looks pretty deep.
Yeah, definitely has. You got the reload mode going here, but Tim Crawley, a great story. Walk on, earns a scholarship, does great things for you out on the edge, and Justin Holmes, just a big-bodied guy, right? The guy that can go get that slant route in traffic, real strong hands, and can do all that. And then again, San Jose State cashing in on the fifth-year transfer, and that's a good thing. I actually like that for college athletics, or for college football rather. The guy that's done the work academically, he can move on and try something for 1 year, and that hopefully will be a real positive for Coach Carragher and his staff.
I asked Coach Borges, who are you most excited about? He said Cooper first, for running back position. Then he said Bailey Gaither after that. He said he has come in so much faster this year that we're going to see a lot of him at the wide receiver position. And that's good to hear, a guy that can get out there quickly and run some routes.
Well, and if you look at what Coach Borges does on offense, he'll really move the ball around, right? He really thinks, strategically about where does the ball go. Yeah, they want to run the ball initially, but then they start getting you to overplay something, and then he'll put the ball in the spot that you've moved out of because you're trying to overplay what he's doing. So as a quarterback, you don't need a cannon for an arm. That'll help if you've got a cannon for an arm. But, all you really got to do is deliver the mail. Put it where the defense isn't.
All right, we'll take another break here on Spartan Sports Report. When we return to practice, we'll talk defense. That's coming up after this.
It's Nissan's bottom line summer event. Take on the unexpected with a car that could stop for you. Get to Nissan for big model year-end offers on our award-winning lineup. Hurry, these offers end soon. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on 13 models, or save up to $3,250 on the 2016 Altima. Get to Nissan, proud partner of the San Jose State Spartans.
Welcome back on Spartan Sports Report here at practice, where we'll now talk defense for San Jose State. We got the linebackers right behind us. Let's talk about the two best that the Spartans have, Frank Ginda and Christian Tago. How great were they last year?
Well, talk about a 1-2 punch, number 4 and number 5 respectively, right? First you go with Christian Tago, 311 career tackles, number 9 all-time for San Jose State. He'll be in top 3, top 4 by the time this season is over. Anytime you're knocking down 100 tackles in a season as a linebacker, that's like a running back going for 1,000 yards. And, an impressive athlete. Did a little digging on him in the offseason. Everybody talked about him coming here as a quarterback. And, in fact, he did, right? Threw for over 4,000 yards as a high school quarterback. Just a hard-nosed guy, leads that defense. And then Frank Ginda, I can't say enough about the young guy. Came in last year, did spring ball, 80 tackles, I think it was, on the season. The part that I kept saying late in the year is you've got to remember a freshman body will fade late in the year. He kept playing better, right? Of course, that's a tribute to the strength coaching staff here, and also to Frank himself, right? You're doing the right things. You're getting to bed early, eating well, and doing what you're supposed to do to have 80 tackles as a true freshman. So, dare I say, is this kind of like a Keith Smith, Vince Buhager 1-2 punch? It really is. Both of those guys can really play.
We were talking about Barry Sachs earlier and the defensive line for this team that really needs to improve. And the Spartans bring back several of their defensive linemen, but it is part of the defense that does need to be better this year.
Boy, definitely. And, you can look at it one of two ways. It wasn't great last year, really struggled at times, but at the same time, that's the negative. The positive is those guys got a lot of reps last year, a lot of live fire. And, the guy on the end there, Nick Areglia, that's just a great story. Walk-on guy, just kept working and working and working. He jogged by us earlier, and boy, it gets darker because he's so big, right? he blots out the sun. But, he does a great job. Isaiah Irving on the other end. So who are those guys in between them that keeps the traffic off the linebackers? And again, the goal is to improve this run defense, and I think they've got the pieces in place from the coaching staff to get that done.
Certainly does. And then when you look into the secondary for the Spartans, I know losing Jimmy Pruitt and Cleveland Wallace, two of the great defenders that the Spartans had last year, is tough to do. But you also got guys like Andre Chachere, who's been in there, and certainly Maurice McKnight, who we are just thrilled every time we watch him play. He's such a player. But those two guys will be back, and still some holes in that secondary to fill. But it seems like that was one place last year where there was a lot of depth for this team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, little Jimmy Pruitt, I've been calling him that, it seems like 8 years, right? But the little Jimmy Pruitt, not so little, as Coach Carragher pointed out, and kicking butt in an NFL camp right now, doing his thing. But when you go to that backfield and you come back with the one true returning starter, probably the best open field tackler on the team, that's something to build around. That will be a challenge. Breaking in a new cornerback at any level is tough, and that'll be one of the things that I'm sure a team like Tulsa that throws the ball almost exclusively will try to work on when we're in the state of Oklahoma to get this season started.
We also saw Dakari Monroe about 9 games last year. Didn't play all that much time when he was in the game, but he opened up the fall depth chart atop one of those secondary positions. So obviously we'll probably see a little bit more of him, but outside of that, it's kind of open at this point to who will take the other safety position and other spots in the secondary.
No, I agree, and I think one of the things you think about with your new D coordinator, Coach English, how confident is everybody with the scheme? Everything I've watched says everybody gets it, everybody understands it. I'm not one of these guys that buys in, you've got to be nervous to play well. To the contrary, I think you got to be zenned up, you got to be centered and ready to play. And it looks to me when I watch practice, everybody understands where they're supposed to be. There's a sense of urgency. And again, you've got that calming influence in the middle with a guy like Christian Tago. I mean, he just kind of walks out there ready to get after it. Doesn't matter who they're playing, and that kind of calms everybody else down. And of course, the other thing we probably ought to talk about, when you talk about defense, is the punt game with Michael Carrizosa and everything that he's done. Talk about just a spectacular year last year for him, a guy that can really help you out on defense, because when the offense gives up the ball, he's knocking that ball deep down the field. And I was reading in the offseason the things you do as you try to, buy some time before the season starts. And, his averages versus the other guys in the Mountain West Conference that are in the mountain schools, right? They've got lighter air. Their averages should be better. He's darn near at sea level here at San Jose State most of the time and led the conference. Pretty cool stuff.
Well, just staying on special teams, Austin Lopez leaves, and he struggled last year.
Right.
Jake Lansky, a transfer who comes in, I talked to him yesterday. He said his comfort zone is from 50 and in.
Right.
So if you have a kicker with that much confidence, from 50 and in, that's another element to this game. I know we talked a lot about Austin last year with his inconsistencies, but if you can have a consistent kicker, it certainly changes the game.
Boy, it really does. And you could go back through, I think, the last couple years and say, where did the kicking game affect us, right? Would that have netted us, 1 or 2 more wins? And, I think you could definitely say, it would have been a better outcome, maybe not a win, but to have a kicker that is money and ready to go is a real important thing. And again, one of the things we'll talk about a lot as we get the season going is, can you create turnovers? The Ron Carragher era has yet to be positive in the turnover ratio. Need to get there this year, need to get there early. I think when you look at that schedule, you've got to win on the road twice if you're looking to have a real successful season. You got to win on the road twice early on, I should say. You've got to win at Tulsa, and you've got to get it done in Albuquerque against University of New Mexico in Game 5.
All right, that's a look at the defense and special teams here from practice at San Jose State. We'll take another break on Spartan Sports Report. More to come after this.
We started with the class-leading RX. We gave it paddle shifters to help you command the road. A sport mode to help you control the road. And a sport-tuned suspension to help you connect with the road. The Lexus RX F-Sport. This is the RX Elevated. See your Northern California Lexus dealer.
Playing high school and college basketball taught me the value of teamwork while learning leadership and problem-solving skills. Sports are an excellent way for kids to prepare for the real world, as well as the importance of staying physically fit. I use these skills every day in my job as an officer with the San Jose Police Department. Being a police officer allows me to use what I have learned while serving my community.
View job opportunities and apply at sjpdu.com. That's sjpdyu.com.
Welcome back on Spartan Sports Report. That does it for this week's episode from practice. The Spartans just a few weeks away from getting ready for the 2016 season, which starts on the road September 3rd at Tulsa. The first home game inside Sefcu Stadium will be Saturday, September 10th against Portland State. Tickets are available by calling 408-924-7589 or visiting sjsuspartans.com. Thanks for watching this week, and we'll see you next time.